Darling in the FranXX is really dumb. I'm just going to go into depth with certain plot points in the show, so if you haven't watched Darling in the FranXX yet, but you want to, well, go ahead and do that, and then come back here when you're done. Here's a quick plot synopsis of the show if you're curious to know what the show's about. In the distant future, humanity has been driven to near extinction by giant beasts known as Calaxosaurs, forcing the surviving humans to take refuge in the massive fortresses cities called plantations. Children raised here are trained to pilot giant mechas known as FranXX, the only weapons known to be effective against the Calaxosaurs. These children know nothing of the outside world and are only able to prove their existence by defending their race. Hero, an aspiring FranXX pilot, has lost his motivation and self-confidence after failing an aptitude test. Skipping out on the class graduation ceremony, Hero retreats to a forest lake where he encounters a mysterious girl with 2 horns growing out of her head. She introduces herself by her codename 02, which is known to belong to an infamous FranXX pilot known as the Partner Killer. Before Hero can digest the encounter, the plantation is rocked by a sudden Calaxosaur attack. 02 engages the creature in her FranXX, but it is heavily damaged in the skirmish and crashes near Hero. Finding her partner dead, 02 invites Hero to pilot the mecha with her, and the duo easily defeats the Calaxosaur in the ensuing fight with a new partner by her side. Hero has been given a chance at redemption for the past failures, but at what cost? Before I go on a tangent about how dumb I think this show is, I'll first mention all the things I liked. The character designs are pretty good. It took forever for me to put my finger on it since the designs are really simplistic, but then I realized that's exactly what made them so good. These character designs were crafted to make the animation process easier, and each design is just distinct enough that if you saw just the shadow, you could probably tell who it was and that it was from Darling in the FranXX. The mech designs are also really good, less simple of course. The FranXX are a shining example of Darling in the FranXX's aesthetic. The humanoid approach to designing these mechs might put off some people, but I personally liked how it aligned with the theme of relationships in the show. The openings were great. I especially loved the second opening, which, yeah, was just a remix of the first, but visually it was stunning. The contrast from red to blue was also a really nice touch. The animation at times was also really impressive, most notably with how backgrounds were fully animated in some scenes. The English dub is really good. As I watch more simul dubs by Funimation, I get more impressed with how excellent the acting is by the cast. In my opinion, of course. The world building was decent, and that's about it. Alright, let's talk about Darling in the FranXX. Darling in the FranXX is a victim of a theme and an aesthetic clashing with one another. If you already watched the show, it becomes very obvious that there's an underlining theme of relationships. The mechs in the anime are only able to be piloted by a male and female partnership. The male and female have to be in a healthy relationship for the synchronization of the FranXX to work. This is an interesting theme to have for a mecha show. However, subtlety is not Darling in the FranXX's strong suit. For instance, when it comes to relationships, there's also a huge aspect to relationships that is explored here, and that's sex. However, for the male and female to sync up on and pilot the FranXX, the male has to grab onto these butt handles that are on the female, so they both can be in unison, or they're basically fucking.
Isn't it working? We have to keep moving. Come on! Damn it! Why'd this happen? I piloted just fine before.
What's wrong?
I don't know. It stopped.
Is it my fault?
I don't think so.
Is there something 02 did that I'm not?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It's okay. There's no rush. Just relax and maybe it'll come back.
The exchange of dialogue was already heavy-handed, but this is just stupid. I've already mentioned that I like the character designs, but that doesn't mean they actually make sense. Yes, the mechs are humanoid, that part's fine, but weirdly enough, they don't go far enough with the humanoid design to actually give the mechs feet. Look at the stubs of these giant robots, there's no way these things could walk. They're basically in heels. You give them tits, but you don't give them feet? I thought these were supposed to be combat units. When it comes to designs like this, they come off more hilarious rather than metaphorical. If the show didn't take itself so seriously, it'd probably be more enjoyable and I could probably take it at what it is. But it's kind of hard to take it seriously when, one, to pilot the FranXX, you have to fuck each other. Two, there's sperm chairs. There's fucking sperm chairs. And just a lot of other stuff that's in this show that's just, it's hard to take it like at what it is at face value. Speaking of taking things too seriously, let's talk about the characters. What a bland cast of personalities we've got here. Hero is our protagonist, and if he was a pair of scissors, he wouldn't be able to cut a strand of hair because that's just how dull he is. His character throughout the whole show goes from, I want to pilot a FranXX, to, I want to pilot a FranXX, Also, I have a hot girlfriend. Which, let's talk about spunky best girl bait 02. I do not like 02. I'm convinced that most people that do like her only like her because, well, she's weird and hot. So let's take a moment to look at 02 as a character. What do we actually get? Well, at first, she's just this mysterious girl that's horny for Hiro. She even introduces herself fully nude because, again, we got to pander to the waifu bait demographic. Later in the anime, we as the audience discover that 02's motivation is to kill as many Klaxosaurs as possible. She wants this because she feels that she'll become truly human and that she'll be able to meet her darling of her past. I'm not sure how that makes sense, but okay. What needs to be understood is that this was literally 02's motivation for like the first half of the show. She even admits to Hiro after he confesses to her that,
After all, you're nothing more than my fodder!
What a bitch.
when they go into the battlefield, 02 loses her shit and almost kills Hiro in the process. But then plot happens and Hiro was able to remember that he was the darling of 02's past. I like episode 13. It did the show some good world building and character development for 02. But just because we as an audience are shown a tragically sweet story between these two characters when they were younger, doesn't negate their current actions. 02 only begins to truly care for Hiro only after she discovers that he was the darling from her past. She probably would have killed him if the plot didn't hand the both of them that information. This is why the next episode, episode 14, really makes me angry. The show and most of the fans at this point are rooting for Hiro and 02 to get together. They're rooting for this relationship. Which is why everyone in the anime community hated Ichigo in episode 14. And personally, I don't understand why. It's like I had watched a different show than everyone else. Alright, so who is Ichigo? Ichigo is the captain of Squad 13, and she's also been clearly shown in the show to have feelings for Hiro. Before 02 had lost her shit on the battlefield, Ichigo is given a tidbit by one of 02's old squad members about how 02 really is. And so when Ichigo clearly sees 02 losing her shit and compromising Hiro in the process, she understandingly tries to separate the both of them immediately, keeping them separated so they don't talk to one another because, hey, 02 just fucking lost her shit and tried killing Hiro, and Ichigo was just given a tidbit that, hey, 02 just wants to like fucking compromise her partners, and yet the fans that were really into the show saw Ichigo as one of the worst characters ever at this point, even though her actions make sense from both a commander and a love interest perspective. Apparently, it got so bad that there were some losers that threatened the life of the voice actress. I mean, if you're dumb enough to not know the difference between a writer and an actress, then I shouldn't be surprised that you'd be dumb enough to send a death threat. By the way, 02 doesn't really get punished at all for her actions. In fact, the rest of the squad thinks that they should let 02 see Hiro. I understand that these characters have been sheltered and raised to fight their whole life, but you'd think there would be like a debate or something about this. This is why when I see the anime community infatuated with 02, I'm convinced is it just because she's hot? Is that it? Is that why everyone likes 02 so much? It's just because she's hot, isn't it? Hiro and 02's relationship is a genuine toxic representation of how relationships should work.
No, don't look! Are you scared of me? After all, you know I used you this entire time.
That doesn't matter anymore, okay?
But I called you fodder! How can you ever forgive me for saying
And
that?
I called you a monster, remember? So now we're even.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Which is weird because the writers got Kokoro and Mitsuru's relationship correct. In fact, this was the only relationship that I was invested in. Kokoro starts off as the typical sweet girl, and Mitsuru starts off as, well, a stuck-up asshole. Kokoro abandons her first partner, Futoshi, for good reason. Futoshi's main trait is that he's fat, and he likes Kokoro. Honestly, Futoshi felt like he would probably wear a fedora. I found it really cute how Kokoro didn't know what babies were, so she wanted to find out with Mitsuru, but he was like, whoa, hold on there. They both even get married because they just read about how it's a symbol of love. I felt the writers just did a better job with this relationship compared to everyone else. Later in the show, they even both lose their memories, and the writers didn't bullshit it, but they just fell in love with each other again. Miku and, okay, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, I think it's Zorme. Yeah, Miku and Zorme were both, like, tsundere characters. Goro is a typical bro character, and that's about it. Can't remember any other characters. Oh, wait, there was 02's previous squad. The main dude from that squad did things. Squad 13 fighting these clock swords, that's not what the show's about. It's about the characters, it's about the relationships and blah, blah, blah. However, the clock swords are really boring. I found myself not caring for most fight scenes because I just didn't care what they were hitting. It's like playing a video game and encountering the same enemy type, but it's just skinned differently. I think Darling in the Franxx' main issue is that it tries being both Gurren Lagann and Evangelion. Balls to the wall action and being thought-provoking isn't the easiest thing to mix together, which is why Darling in the Franxx unintentionally comes off as laughable. I do think the anime community hyped up this series too much. You look up the names that are attached to this project and then you see Studio Trigger and immediately your dick gets hard. Studio Trigger has made some amazing anime, but I think after this show we can maybe level our expectations for their future projects. That's about it for the video. If you liked it and you want to support me, maybe consider donating $1 a month to my Patreon. And, alright, just kidding, we gotta talk about the last 4 episodes. Dude, bruh, aliens. That's right, boys and girls. Seemingly out of nowhere, the writers found out that they still had 4 episodes left and decided that the antagonist would be this two-faced looking alien thing. What the fuck, Darling in the Franxx? Darling in the Franxx was always introducing plot elements that would come up later, but this was out of fucking nowhere. Which, understandingly, even the most diehard FranXX fans were pretty upset. The last arc for the show feels very rushed and just not thought out. 02 becomes like this giant mountain lady thing, and I was just laughing, man. It was really bad. Another example of how rushed this was the last episode itself. The last episode decides to show what could have been its own fucking season in terms of pacing, at least, and it had like an 8-year time skip. You ever seen Charlotte? It's similar to Charlotte. The climax, the final fight, is the power of friendship, where everyone held hands and yelled, "You can do it, 02 and Hero," and then the show has the audacity to leave off on a possible Season 2 scenario, as well as showing a fucking young version of 02 and Hero. I guess they were reincarnated. I guess they died. I don't fucking know. Did an intern at Trigger, or more likely at A1 Pictures, were they walking with 2 scripts to Darling in the Franxx, and one was to an entirely different show, and then they just ran into someone else in the hallway, and then the script just got scattered everywhere, and then in the process of picking them both back up, he mixed up the script to the other show with Darling in the Franxx. What happened? Trigger, A1, what the fuck, dude? This show had potential, but it fell apart real quick with its writing. It's unfortunate because, like I said, there's some really good elements. I'm not someone that likes to give scores, but I would probably give this anime a 4. It's really the writing that just brings it down so much. And the characters, but mainly the writing. Here's hoping that when 2 studios decide to collaborate again, the show they produce won't fall on its face. Thanks for checking out my video. Now, give me your goddamn money and follow me on Twitter so I can feel better about myself. Alright, see you in the next video. Bye!